There are places in the world that we think we know everything about, and one of them is Egypt. But when you look deeper into its history, it only becomes more unique. In this video, we will look at the 10 most mysterious secrets hidden in Egypt. But before we continue, please like this video. This means a lot to us content creators. Thank you very much. Number 10, the Serapeum of Saqqara. There is a place that most people don't immediately notice. It's not above ground, but underground. A long underground place called the Serapeum. But it's not for people. This place was made for the Apis bulls, sacred animals associated with the god Ptah and later with Osiris. These cattle are not ordinary. They are carefully chosen and, while still alive, treated like gods. When they die, they are given a burial like that of kings. But what is truly astonishing here is the size of the things inside. Inside the underground tunnels, there are giant stone sarcophagi, coffins made from hard stones like granite, and some of them weigh up to 10 tons. When you enter the place, it's not the design that impresses you first, but the strange atmosphere. It's as if everything was made with great care. These are not the typical small coffins hidden in the corner. These are large containers placed in dark rooms beneath the desert. The place was rediscovered in the 19th century by the French archaeologist Auguste Mariette. He followed the row of sphinxes in Saqqara until he found this hidden complex. And that's important because for a long time the place was literally buried in sand, hidden as if it was meant to never be found. But when it was rediscovered, it opened up a unique part of Egypt's history. Just imagine one of the most mysterious places in the country. Not for the pharaohs, but for the cows. And the more it's studied, the more interesting it becomes. Because the Apis bull is not just chosen randomly, the priests look for specific markings to declare an animal as divine. Once chosen, it is given a special life, and when the cow dies, it is given a unique burial. And that's what gives this place a unique feeling. It's not because we don't know what it is, we know its purpose, but the way it was made is unexpected. You'll enter thinking it's just an ordinary burial site. But what you'll see is a dark world underground, filled with enormous coffins for animals that were considered living gods. Number 9, the secret crypts in the Dendera temple complex. The Temple of Hathor in Dendera is already impressive from the outside, but its real secret isn't immediately visible. It's hidden underneath. Beneath the main structure, there are narrow underground chambers. They're called crypts. This is where sacred objects and items used in rituals are kept. It wasn't open to everyone back then. Many visitors don't immediately realize that the temple has this kind of section. You'll notice right away the feeling is different. It's cramped, quiet, and it's as if every wall is hiding a story. Unlike the wide halls of the temple, these places seem to have been intentionally concealed. In the carvings, you can see different gods, ritual objects, and symbols connected to the religion of ancient Egypt. But what's more interesting is that some of the images here have caused misunderstandings in the present time. There's a carving that some people often point to as evidence of ancient technology. They say it looks like a light bulb, but according to Egyptologists, it has nothing to do with technology. It's just a symbol. It's related to creation, stories, and rituals. But even if the explanation is wrong, one thing is clear. These images look very different from what most people expect. It's like the temple has two lives. On the surface, there are the huge columns, the grand design, the typical things you'd expect in Egypt. But underneath, there's another one, a different world, quieter, more secret. Here you can feel that the temple wasn't just for display, but there were parts meant only for a few people. It wasn't for the public back then. This was for the priests, for the rituals, for the temple's inner workings. And because the space is smaller, the carvings feel more personal and more unique. Most of what we see in the temple today dates to the Ptolemaic period in Roman Egypt. This doesn't come from the earliest period of Egypt, but it's part of the later period of their history. Because even though times and rulers changed, the tradition continued. This is not just an old temple. It's a more developed system that continues even as the world around it changes. Number 8, the Valley of the Golden Mummies. In the remote part of Egypt's western desert, in the Bahariya Oasis, archaeologists discovered something truly unique. They called it the Valley of the Golden Mummies, a massive burial site from the time of Greco-Roman Egypt. And the mummies here are not ordinary. Many of them have gold decorations, painted masks, and more detailed wrappings. This is a burial site in the middle of the desert, far from places usually visited by tourists. But what's most surprising is how many there are. At first, they thought they would only find a few mummies. But as they kept digging, more and more appeared, and they realized this was a massive necropolis, an entire community burial site, possibly reaching hundreds or even more. You're no longer looking at just a secret chamber, but at an entire hidden world beneath the sand. And because these are from the later period of Egypt, the mummies look different too. They're not like the classic Egyptian style that most people expect. There's more influence from other cultures mixed in, and it shows. Even in death, the style of a group of people can change. There's a unique feeling in the Valley of the Golden Mummies. It's not just because of the number of mummies, but because it shows that Egypt is much broader than the stories we're used to. This isn't beside the Nile. It's in an oasis in the middle of the desert, and it belongs to a later period in the history of Egypt. That's why it often doesn't get as much attention compared to the time of the pyramids. But if you look at the place itself, it's one of the most visible and easily recognizable discoveries of recent times. And there's another important thing that this place shows. Egypt didn't stop after the time of the early pharaohs and the Great Pyramids. It continued. It changed. It became more complicated as time went on. The Bahariya Cemetery is proof that there were real communities with their own traditions and their own burial practices that remained hidden under the sand for many centuries. Abydos is one of the most sacred places in ancient Egypt. It is closely associated with the god Osiris, the god of the dead. But there is one part here that is even more intriguing. Behind the temple of Seti I, there is a structure that is almost hidden and appears to be much older than expected. This is the Osireion, an underground place made of massive stones with an island-like center surrounded by waterways. When you see it, the first thing that comes to your mind is that this is different compared to the whole temple. It feels heavier, more serious. It's like there's another world hidden behind a neat and elegant temple. Most of the time, this is associated with Seti I and is believed to be a symbolic tomb or a place for rituals for Osiris. This was not made by accident. It has a history, the size of the stones, the location that's partially underground, and the water that often accumulates inside. Because of its appearance, many people often think that this is even older than other Egyptian structures. And that's where the different theories begin. But even without those theories, the real story is enough to make the place interesting. Abydos is the center of worship for Osiris, one of the most important gods in Egypt. So it's only natural to have a structure like this. It's dark, heavy, and feels like a tomb connected to that place. Historians also know something about this. They know where it fits in the history and religion of Abydos. But even with an explanation, it still doesn't feel ordinary. The Osireion is like one of those places in Egypt that shouldn't just be understood, but should be felt. It's not the kind of place you can just look at and immediately understand. You have to experience it. The flat area in the middle, the water around it, the huge stones, and its location behind a massive temple. All of that creates a unique feeling that's hard to forget. And it's also different compared to other famous places in Egypt. Because even though Abydos is well known, most people only know about the Temple of Seti I, especially because of its beauty and the famous list of kings. But many people don't even know the Osireion behind it is there. And once you see it, it's hard to forget. You feel like Egypt has a hidden part that isn't immediately revealed. It's not just because it's not famous, but because it seems to belong to the quieter, darker part of their sacred structure. Number 6. Thonis-Heracleion, the Sunken City. This name seems to be somewhere between history and legend. It's mentioned in ancient writings, but the city itself seemed to just disappear. It's underwater.
Ng Abukir Bay, malapit sa Nile.
It's like it came back. It's not just a ruined place. It's not just simple ruins. It's not just a few statues either. It's an entire city submerged under the sea. There are temples and huge statues, even everyday items. They're still there, buried in mud for over 1,000 years. It shows a different side of Egypt. It's not just desert. Usually when we think of Egypt, we immediately think of sand. But here it feels different. Dark water and mud and giant statues that were pulled from under the sea. This city was important back then, and it was a major port even before Alexandria became famous. So it's no surprise that so much has been found here. This wasn't just a simple village or a small shrine. It was Egypt's gateway to the Mediterranean world. This is where trade, beliefs, and governance revolved. Because of the shifting of the land and the unstable conditions of the delta, it gradually sank. It didn't disappear because of mystery. Science has an explanation. It really hits differently when you see the things that were found there. Gua. Ship, coins, and anchor. It shows a city that wasn't just abandoned. It's like it suddenly disappeared, straight to the bottom of the sea. This is the Lost Labyrinth, the one in Hawara. It's near the pyramid of Amenemhat III in the Fayum area. And based on old stories, this is not an ordinary building. It's extremely huge. Even ancient writers seem to have a hard time explaining how amazing it was. Herodotus himself wrote about it. And according to him, it was a massive place filled with hundreds of rooms and hallways, a place with a confusing layout, like a maze of passageways. And some even said that it was more impressive than the pyramids, but here's the problem. It's gone now. Almost nothing remains above ground. Over time, its stones were taken and used for other constructions. So if you visit the place now, you won't immediately feel how beautiful it once was. Because this labyrinth is like the ghost of a massive structure. We know that something huge once stood here. There is evidence, written accounts, and traces. But the building itself is almost gone. And because of that, a big question remains. A mystery that is still being talked about today. Even the word labyrinth has expanded in meaning across different cultures as a symbol of a complicated and chaotic system. And it all started with this story in Egypt. It becomes even more interesting because it comes from Middle Kingdom Egypt, a period that is often overlooked compared to the Pyramid Age or the New Kingdom. But clearly, the kings at that time were serious about building. This means that the lost wonders of Egypt did not only come from its most famous era, there are others that have completely disappeared from sight. Number 4, Wadi al-Jarf, the hidden harbor that changed the story of the pyramids. When we think of Egypt, what often comes to mind are pyramids, temples, tombs, and deserts. But we rarely think that a part of its history is also connected to the sea. And that's where Wadi al-Jarf comes in, a place on the coast of the Red Sea that seems to have given a new perspective on Egypt. They weren't just building monuments, they also had an organized system for travel and seafaring. According to the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, this place was a harbor used around 2600 BCE during the time of Khufu, the same pharaoh who built the Great Pyramid. You can see an L-shaped structure here that extends into the water. As the place is studied further, more discoveries are being made. There are tunnels carved into the rocky hill, large stone anchors, containers with inscriptions, and traces of administrative records. This is not just a simple port. This is an organized system that shows how the economy and projects of Egypt really operated back then. And that's where our perspective changes. They weren't just building with huge stone blocks. They were also an organized group of people who knew how to plan, transport, and manage large projects. With deeper study of Wadi al-Jarf, the place becomes even more interesting. According to archaeologists, many of the jars and anchors found there are significant. The anchors here have inscriptions. According to archaeologists, many of the jars and anchors found here have engraved writings. They're not just ordinary objects. There's a system, there's a record. And the underground passageways were sealed with large limestone blocks when the port was not in use. So if you think about it, it's not just broken. It's like a machine that works depending on the season. There are times when it's quiet, closed, and still. Then when needed, the galleries are opened, the boats are prepared, the supplies are arranged, and suddenly the whole place comes alive. And that's where you'll see another side of ancient Egypt. It's not just about the grand monuments. Wadi al-Jarf shows that the same civilization capable of building the Great Pyramid of Giza could also manage an organized coastal operation. According to studies, there are a lot of galleries, anchors, and buildings in the area. It shows that many people worked here. There is even a building that could have housed hundreds of workers. This was no ordinary place. This was not a random port, it was planned. And because of that, our view of Egypt changes. It's no longer just a collection of separate monuments. It's like one big system connected by people, labor, and coordinated activity. But what really changed the story of this place was the discovery made in 2013. At the same site, archaeologists found old papyri, ancient documents. Included here are the writings of an official named Merer, and these documents are the oldest written papyrus ever found to this day. This is not a story. This is not a legend. This is a real record. In Merer's letters, he detailed their daily work during the time of Khufu. He describes how they transported the limestone from the quarry to the Giza Plateau. They passed through water routes connected to the pyramid complex. And this is where things start to feel different. Usually the old kingdom feels distant, like it's quietly hidden behind stone. But here, it's like you can hear them. You can see their daily life, work, schedules, and food. It's no longer vague. It's not just about monuments anymore. It feels alive. In the records, there is a group made up of almost 40 people. They carry stones, move along the waterways, and help maintain the king's projects. There are also hints about their food, rewards, and connections to the king's leadership. And this is what the pyramids cannot show, the actions of the people. You can imagine people going back and forth, carrying stones, sleeping between shifts, and working together to keep the bigger project running. Because sometimes, due to the sheer size and fame of the pyramids, they become almost abstract. But Wadi al-Jarf brings them back to reality. It shows the people the system, the planning, and the hardships behind it. And also the coastal side of Egypt that we often don't think about. There's another unique detail about this place, the location itself. It's on the coast of the Red Sea, a quiet and somewhat remote place where the tunnels were dug into the side of the mountain. After being sealed and abandoned, the papyri were found near the limestone blocks used to close off the tunnels. And some of them survived not because of perfect conditions, but because their position shifted and they didn't completely decay in the water. And because of that, we had a rare opportunity to see a part of history that is often lost. Not the kings, not the monuments, but the people who worked behind them. Sometimes, small accidents in preservation provide the most important information in archaeology. For more than 4,500 years, the writings of some workers were hidden near a secret harbor on the Red Sea. This is not like other Egyptian discoveries that are full of gold or large statues. This is simple work, and because it's work, you can really feel its authenticity. This place shows a vast system connected to copper mining in the Sinai Peninsula. And when you put it all together, suddenly the picture expands. Nile Valley, Desert, Port, Red Sea, Sinai, and the King's projects. All of these are interconnected, and that's where the true story of Egypt becomes even more remarkable. It's not just about a few monuments, but an entire system working together at the same time. Number 3, the Osiris shaft beneath the Giza Plateau. Giza is one of the most famous places in the world. When it's mentioned, the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Great Sphinx of Giza, and the vast desert automatically come to our minds. But there's something that almost no one knows. There's a deep pit hidden right beneath that place. Not in a faraway part of Egypt, but right beneath one of the most famous places in the world, the Osiris Shaft. It's a pit that reaches various depths. At the bottom, there are chambers, large coffins, water, and an interior that feels like a tomb and a place for rituals. Some people in the area have known about this for a long time. According to Zahi Hawass's accounts, in the past, the locals used the water inside the pit in ways that now sound strange to us. But eventually, it started to be studied more seriously. This is a place that extends almost 100 feet below the surface of the Giza Plateau. Based on studies, the structure has 3 vertical shafts and 3 levels. In the first one, there is a chamber and another larger one with 6 smaller ones around it. And at the very bottom, there is a chamber with a large coffin in the middle. The central part was still used in later periods of Egypt. It was not used just once. This is a place that was repeatedly rediscovered and reused in different periods. It's as if even the ancient Egyptians themselves kept returning to this place and giving it new meaning. This is not just a simple tomb, a place used in different periods with 4 ancient pillars below that give it a more mysterious feeling. At the very bottom of the Osiris Shaft, you'll see a strange setup. There are pillars carved directly into the rock surrounding an elongated pit. In the middle of it, there's a large stone coffin, and around it there's clear water surrounding 3 sides. It's like a small island in the middle of darkness. According to Zahi Hawass's reports, when the excavation was resumed, the lowest part was completely filled with water, and at first only the lid of the large coffin could be seen. As the area was cleaned further, its full appearance was revealed. A spot in the middle that seemed to be intentionally placed. Some say its design resembles the symbol for a house in hieroglyphs. But even if you remove all the theories, just the appearance of the place alone is enough to make you feel something strange. Imagine, you go down beneath Giza, then you see pillars, a huge coffin, and water all around, all inside a dark space. It's no wonder why so many stories and speculations have come out about this. Some people say there are secret tunnels that connect the Great Sphinx of Giza and the Great Pyramid of Giza. But honestly, there's no need for more stories. The real details alone are enough. And aside from that, the name Osiris Shaft adds even more to the mystery. Because according to Hawass, this might be connected to Osiris, the god of the dead. The water below and its location in Giza might symbolize the house of Osiris. But even though not all experts agree with this, one thing is certain. This is not just a hole in the ground. It's part of a sacred place. It's as if it was intentionally made for the underground, hidden and not easily accessible. Even so, it changes the way we look at Giza. It doesn't change the appearance of the surroundings. It doesn't change what we see on the surface, but it adds depth to the place, literally. Because beneath the sand and stone, there's another world. It's not just a sight to see. It's a place with layers of history and secrets underneath. Number 2, the forgotten royal tombs of Tanis. 2. The forgotten royal tombs of Tanis. Only a little has been discovered in Tanis, but it's enormous. Royal tombs, gold, silver, masks, jewelry, and various valuable items. But even so, many people still hardly know this story. One of the reasons is its location. It's not in the Valley of the Kings, it's in the Nile Delta. And because of that, the place feels different. The ground is wetter and softer, and it doesn't match the classic image of Egypt as just a desert. In 1939 and 1940, the French archaeologist Pierre Montet began excavating the area, and here he discovered a royal necropolis, an entire burial site of kings. This includes the tomb of Susanus Thurcher. According to the Egyptian Museum Cairo, the Tanis necropolis is one of the most important royal discoveries of the past. It's not just a tomb. It's an entire cemetery. As Monte continued to excavate, he made one discovery after another. There were tombs hidden behind the walls. There were entrances covered by huge granite stones. And behind those, there were intact and untouched royal tombs. And that rarely happens in Egypt. Even the tomb of Tutankhamun, which is famous all over the world, had already been entered before. But in Tanis, the story was different. Many of the tombs were still full and intact, but it wasn't perfect. Because of the climate in the Nile Delta, many things were damaged. The wooden coffins did not survive well, and that's where what was found starts to look different. It's not like the dry and well-preserved tombs in the desert. It's like a treasure dug up from the mud over time. Susanus, I was found inside a silver coffin, an anthropoid coffin, and his funerary mask is considered one of the most valuable and beautiful discoveries in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Because of this, he is sometimes called the Silver Pharaoh. He's not the only one. In the same place, a unique silver coffin with a falcon's head belonging to Shoshenq II was also found. What they think of are gold, wall paintings, and the dry desert. But in Tanis, the story is different. Silver, wet soil, and a place you wouldn't expect. Although Tanis is truly Egyptian in every aspect, it comes from a period that is rarely discussed in documentaries. This is part of the Third Intermediate Period of Egypt, a time that often seems like just a bridge between more famous eras. But the discoveries here show that this is not simply a result of former glory or power. The craftsmanship is of extremely high quality. The tombs are orderly and detailed, and the system of leadership is more complicated than previously thought. Royal culture in Egypt was still alive during that time. Because of Tanis, historians better understood the family histories of the kings and how they were buried in the past. In other words, Tanis is like a hidden chapter of Egypt. Many thought it was small, but in reality it was very rich, very important, and impressive. But there's another unique detail in the story: the timing. Because when Pierre Montet discovered it, World War II was just beginning, while a major discovery was happening in Egypt. The world, meanwhile, was in the midst of chaos, and because of that, the discovery didn't get enough attention. The excavation was even delayed. Imagine one of the most important discoveries in Egypt was happening, but almost no one noticed because the whole world was preoccupied with the war. According to reports, 7 tombs of kings were found in Tanis, and 3 of these were actually untouched. But despite this, it didn't become as famous as it should have for many years. It's like history itself set it aside. Number 1, the Cave of the Beasts. It is located in a remote part of the desert in southwestern Egypt. It's a place that's very hard to reach. It is surrounded by one of the harshest environments in the world. There are thousands of ancient drawings that until now are still not fully understood. It is located in Wadi Sura, near the Gilf Kabir Plateau, and it feels like you're at the edge of the world. According to the University of Cologne, there are about 8,000 images here. These include strange creatures. These hybrid forms are the reason why it was called the Cave of the Beasts. These images provide insight into the lives and beliefs of people more than 8,000 years ago, but they have an even deeper impact. It shatters our usual image of Egypt. When we think of Egyptian mysteries, we often think of tombs, pyramids, and hidden chambers. But the Cave of the Beasts is even older than that. It dates back to prehistoric times before the pharaohs, and it is connected to a time when the Sahara Desert was not as dry as it is today. The drawings here were not made for kings, nor for grand temples. These were made by ancient people to show their world, beliefs, and experiences. And until now, we still don't fully understand what all of this exactly means. And this is where the list ends. So the question is, how many more secrets are still hidden in Egypt that we haven't discovered yet?